Today we're going to cover the Layer 2, Trim, and Count tabs from a drywall partition condition. Layer 2 is going to differ from the General tab for a couple of reasons. In most cases, Layer 2 is going to be utilized for a secondary type of board. If you needed to use 2 layers of the same board on the General tab, you would just change the number of layers. So really the Layer 2 tab is meant for, let's say that you needed to put up a layer of sheathing before you put up your fire code Type X board. Or let's just say that any time that you needed to use any different type of board, this is where you would add that information in. Now it's going to be very similar to how you fill out your board on the General tab. Ultimately, you have the height of the structure. You have the number of layers that you would like to apply. You have the thickness of that board, the width and length of that board, and the type. You are going to get an additional top out labor line as well. So here we're saying that you're topping out at 10 feet, and you're going to be using a 4x12 board here in your top out labor. You're going to be using fire code board here as well. And if you were going to be finishing your fire taping, which in most cases you're not, you would fill that information out. Now again, I said in most cases you're not, and the reason being is because this is not usually utilized as a field that would be the outer facing portion of the wall. That's what you're catching in the General tab. This would be some sort of reinforcement that you may need to that wall. So you're just kind of putting on that backing, and then you're going to be putting the fire code Type X board right on top of it. So that's how you're going to utilize Layer 2. You will notice that we have a board A and a board B. So just keep it consistent with how your General tab is set up. So use the same board on A on Layer 2 that you did on the General tab for Layer 1. The next tab that you have is your Trim tab. So if you click on your Trim tab, this is going to be any horizontal piece of trim that you may need on your wall. Now you don't have to calculate this inside of the wall. If you wanted to, you could calculate this in a completely separate condition. However, if it was a separate condition, you would still be utilizing these fields, so we're just going to cover that information with you. You'll notice that you have 4 different trim fields that you can use, A, B, C, and D, and you can set these up however you would like. Simply turn on one of those fields and just tell us the number of runs that you'd like. So are you running this on one side of the wall, or are you running this on both sides of the wall? Are you running this at top of the wall, or are you running this at the bottom of the wall? However you'd like to use this and fill that information out, you're more than welcome to. But simply tell us the number of runs, tell us the board thickness, and tell us the length of the piece of trim that you're going to be using. Once you move down to material, this is where you can go in and choose plastic, paper, or metal, galvanized, whatever you may be using in this case. The type is what type of trim is this. In this case, you'll see that we have J trim. If you need to change that, click that 3-dotted blue button and choose from the options that we have out there. If you need to create another option, click that copy and insert tool there, or you can go ahead and click this blue plus at the top. The description is what we really care about here. That's why it's highlighted in red. Now, as you're continuing down, you will notice that we produce a square foot of mud per lineal foot, and this is just to make sure that you're going to have enough mud to finish out that trim piece that you're calculating. So you're seeing 2 square foot per 1 lineal foot, and that's just to provide 1 square foot on both sides of that piece of trim to make sure that you're going to have enough coverage. Now trim A, B, C, and D, they're all the same. Ultimately choose whatever one you may need for this project. Turn that one on and the other one off. Or if you needed to have 2 different trim pieces turned on, feel free to turn both of them on. As you measure in the takeoff screen, whatever is turned on out here will be calculated for you. So just make sure that you're not over-calculating your trim on your project. The next tab that we have is the Count tab. So inside of your partition condition, you do have the capability to count corner bead as well as door butt studs. Realistically, it's up to you whether you want to use the Count tab inside of the drywall partition condition. You can measure it separately if you would like. However, it is also part of the partition condition as an option for you to use. If you did want to use it, simply turn on the fields that you would like to use, and it's going to present you with a new drawing tool on your takeoff screen. Now, we're not going to cover the takeoff screen with you. We're just simply covering how to fill out the properties here. So please refer to the video on the drawing tools to know how that tool works. But in this case, For your doorbuck studs, the number is how many studs would you like to drop when you click that doorbuck on your takeoff screen. The next option you go through is the gauge of metal that you're producing, the width of metal, and the length of metal, as well as the cut from. So very similar to all the other stud information. The difference is we're not asking you for centers, we're just asking you for the number of studs per each time you click down that doorbuck tool. Again, your type down here is going to be either that SSMA code or it's going to be the flange style that you're working with. Now as you look at corner bead, ultimately we are asking you for the height of the corner bead. So if you're not going to be running this the full height of the structure, feel free to type in the height that you are going to be running this. What is the size of corner bead that you're going to be producing? And how long is that corner bead that you're going to be getting as well? Ultimately, we're asking for the material, and in this case, we're just saying that it is a corner bead that we're producing. If we wanted to change the type, click your three-dotted button and feel free to change the type out there. You will notice here, very similar to the trim, that we are calculating your square foot per lineal foot for mud, and it is 2 square foot per 1 lineal foot. So as you measure, you're going to get 1 square foot for each side of that corner bead to make sure that you can finish it off properly. Now, if you have any additional questions as you're going through and filling out, layer 2 trim or your count tabs, please feel free to reach out to our tech team and they'd be happy to assist you in any way they can. Thank you very much for watching and have a great day.